Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you guys being here. So today we're going to take a look at the Airis Effects Cloud Drive, which is a SKU on their Parallel Overdrive, which is just a new drive from the company. We're going to look at it in three different situations. Going into my KSR series Artemis Red mode, which is a sound that I love all by itself with absolutely no need for any type of overdrive. Super good. So we're just going to see what type of spiciness and coolness that the Cloud Drive can bring out of that. We're going to run it into my Diesel Herbert preamp pedal, which I think is a cool pedal, but one that does need some significant assistance from a good overdrive. And then we're going to run it into my Fortin Meshuggah to see how it handles the hot rodded Marshall type of deal, plexi type deal. So the first thing I want to mention to you about the Cloud Drive is that it has a stupid amount of output on tap. So here with the volume right around 11 is where I feel like it's about unity gain, unity volume. So with dirt all the way down, if I turn this pedal off and on, the series should sound approximately the same. So here's with it off. It still cuts a little bit of the low end, but that's about the same. So because this pedal has so much volume coming out of it, it's one of two pedals that has pretty easily clipped the input of the series in a bad way. It's like too much volume, like the series cannot take, it doesn't have the headroom to take as much volume as the pedal's pushing out. The pedals that have done that to me pretty obviously have been this pedal and the Fortin Grind. It just pushed out entirely way more output than the series needs. So I'm going to risk my series here and demonstrate that to you by increasing the volume on the Cloud Drive, and you'll hear the series clip. Right there. Do that one time. That's all you need to hear. But yeah, it's bad. So now that's just for the series. The series, I feel like, was designed straight up to not, quote unquote, need any type of boost. It just gets there to that modern metal saturation, tightness, and punch without any need of overdrive. That said, a subtle overdrive can for sure add some cool sounds to the series. And this is going to be me showing you what type of subtle niceness that the Cloud Drive can add to the series. So one thing about the Cloud Drive, and really most of the Airis overdrives I used, I tend to like to find the spot right where the dirt or the gain kicks in and leave it there, and then adjust everything else around there. So on the Cloud Drive in particular, outside of the volume control, the blend control and the mid control don't really seem to do much unless you do have that little bit of dirt dialed in, which works for me because that, like I said, that tends to be the sweet spot for Airis pedals in the first place. So let's find that sweet spot of the dirt. It's about right there where I heard the gain from the pedal kicking in. So now you hear just that little bit of sweetness and saturation that the pedal adds. I like that. So from here I will very, very slightly increase the volume as well. just like that, we have that little sweet little push that I think that the series really enjoys. But another thing I would like to mention is that, like I said, I love the tones I get out of the series. But usually whenever I end up with a sound that I don't necessarily love, it's because afterwards I listened back to the track and I felt like the series had, like, the mids were a little bit too honky. And I feel like the mids control on the cloud drive kind of helps tone that down. So here I have it under noon, around 9 o'clock, and that is pushing it over to a more of a low mid sound, which I think really complements the series. I'm going to sweep it up and maybe you'll hear some of that honkiness of the series come out. Still not a bad sound, but yeah, I do definitely hear some of that honkiness. So I like to cut it down some. Really nice. So yeah, I think these two actually make a really like natural pair together, honestly. Real quick before we switch over to diesel, let's try one more thing. I'm gonna go over to the crunch mode on the series and see what happens when we try some more slightly more extreme settings on the cloud drive. So this is the crunch mode on the series without the cloud drive. And slightly increase the gain on the series. Still gotta be careful with the volume. Yeah, like I said, still a very nice pairing even on that mode. So now let's move over to the diesel, see how that does. Alright, so here we go. So over to the diesel Herbert pedal. So just a little bit of background. I had the diesel VH4 pedal. I did not really like it for what I'm going for. I thought it sounded cool for like earlier metal stuff, but not really the modern stuff. I keep hearing that the Herbert is better for modern metal, and so far I agree, but it's still not like an instant favorite of mine or anything. But yeah, here we go. So I'm using the power amp output of the Diesel Herbert as though you're trying to run it into an amps power amp instead of the clean channel. But it's just running into my interface, which is my Axe Effects right now, and going into cab simulation, just like the series was. But anyway, let's try it on the mid. Well, let's go ahead and no, I have it set up generally how I like it most, and this is what it sounds like without a drive. Basically, this pedal is cool, but I feel like it lacks a bunch of the clarity and punch that I like out of my guitar sound. Let's see what the cloud drive can do to remedy that. It does a lot to remedy it, honestly. I really like that sound. So personally, I probably wouldn't use that by itself, but combined with something like the series, I imagine that would sound absolutely huge on a track. Let's see what type of headroom that this pedal has. So let's try and add more volume from this pedal than we did to the series. See what happens. So it definitely gets to a point of diminishing returns, but it can be added up. You can add more volume to it than you could to like the series. But again, it just has a lot of volume on tap, and that's going to be more than you need for most applications. So yeah, this is part of the reason why I have the Nebula Advanced Overdrive up here right now. So I don't really like the sound I get out of this pedal without an overdrive. It just doesn't really do it for me. I want to see real quick if I can get a better sound out of this pedal with the Nebula Advanced Overdrive real quick. opinion, absolutely I did, and fairly quickly. I think that had a lot to do with the EQ section that the Nebula Advanced Overdrive had. It just lets me dial out some of that extreme low end that the Herbert has going on. It doesn't really add to the chunk factor, it's just kind of muddy. And the Nebula Advanced Overdrive lets me cut through that just a little bit more than the Cloud Drive does. So like I said, so far my thoughts are pretty much that the Cloud Drive is awesome for adding to a sound that you already like. But let's go ahead and see something that's kind of in the middle of these situations, I think, which is the Fort and Meshuggah. I can for sure get a sound that I really enjoy out of the Meshuggah without a boost, but much like a rectifier, I think this amp sounds for sure the best when you do boost it. So this is going to be my first time running this pedal into the Meshuggah, so we're going to see what that sounds like together. Let's go. Alright, so here we go into my Fort and Meshuggah. I have the controls on here all very close to noon. Presence is at like 12:30. Bass is at like 11:30. Everything else is just above 12 o'clock. Mids are like directly at 12 o'clock. But alright, here we go. This is it without the drive, the Cloud Drive. I don't have the I have the pull gain pushed in, meaning that it's the Jose mod is not active, so it has more volume and less gain type of deal. To me, this gives it slightly more responsive and saturated, not saturated, slightly more responsive. I just kind of like it. This gives me more of a Marshall feel to me, and I prefer it this way with boosts. So let's see what that sounds like. Pretty good. So I've noticed that you also get diminished returns in terms of turning the volume up on this pedal as well. I mean, through this amp as well. It's definitely not that crazy clipping sound that you get from the Sirius, but at this point I still hear some unpleasant clipping happening in the Meshuggah, so I'm going to turn this back down a bit. Let's activate the pull gain mode on the Meshuggah. So there'll be more. Let's turn this off first. activate the cloud drive and see how it sounds with that. That mids control is super nice because I was just getting that honky sound I was talking about with the series earlier, and that pretty much eliminated it. Yeah, so there we go. Alright, so pretty much my initial thought. So at this point, we're kind of back in series territory where I like the sounds coming out of the Meshuggah even without the cloud drive on. Slightly less than I like the sound of the series with no drive, but that's neither here nor there. But I for sure prefer this sound with the cloud drive on. All that to say that so far my thoughts on the cloud drive is that it is great for that just little extra spice to a sound that you already really like. Not so much for, oh, I'm super unhappy with my sound and I need something to really make it better. Which in that case, I'm like, hey, either buy a new primary tone generation device, like a new amp or pedal or whatever it is that you're using, or maybe consider something like the Airis Effects Nebula Advanced Overdrive, which, as I showed earlier, it can really transform your sound that you already have in a number of different ways, really. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. I'd really appreciate it. Let's talk about the cloud drive in the comments. Let me know what you think about it. I appreciate it. You guys take care.